Hey, this is Matt O'Leary, and today I'm reviewing the third full-length album from the fantastic psychedelic and jazz rock band Sid Arthur. This is a band out of Canterbury, England, so they're associated with all the rich progressive rock history of that area. And this album's called Apricity, which is a word that means the heat of the sun during the wintertime. Is it a play on the novel Siddhartha? Is it referencing Syd Barrett from Pink Floyd? Not really sure, just a really unique band name. Their drummer from the first two albums is actually not with the band anymore, so they got three brothers, Joel, Liam, and Joe McGill. Joe, I think, coming in on the drums, and then another guy, Raven Bush, who's related to Kate Bush. To say Sid Arthur's one of my favorite bands is maybe a little bit of a stretch. I just don't think they have enough material for that yet. But they've definitely got one of my favorite just pure sounds of any band. I almost enjoy their sound more so than their actual songs, if that makes any sense. Think of a band like Pink Floyd. Their greatest strength was crafting these cohesive conceptual pieces. And if you think of their greatest albums and their most famous albums like Animals or Dark Side or The Wall, they all kind of fit into this category of just this complete listening experience. So you couldn't skip any track on because every single one was absolutely essential. You honestly just can't say that about Sid Arthur's two albums so far. They're just not that kind of band. Their strength totally lies in the rich rock and roll orchestra they weave, in these gorgeous moods and tones they present. They seem to have tapped into this perfect concoction of jazz and psych rock that so perfectly matches my musical taste. So they're kind of like the cross-section of two circles in a Venn diagram, right? They can write these radio-friendly modern pop rock songs pretty well, but it's all built upon this foundation of deceptively complex jazz chords and uncommon mathy time signatures. So up to this point, they definitely put out two pretty solid collections of songs. This is their last, Sound Mirror, which I liked a lot, but I actually prefer their debut album, On and On, so check these out. They're definitely worth your time. I'll just show this interestingly. It's a remix album by the amorphous androgynous of Sid Arthur songs. And it's all just this big psychedelic washing machine of sound. Definitely, this was a cool find as well. I had no idea this existed, and then I just found it in a record store for pretty cheap, and it's great. Moving on to this album, Apricity. Right away, you're going to notice they've taken this smooth sheen they had and moved it to an even silkier level. Production tricks are scattered throughout the opener coal mine, from the little supporting string accents to these barely noticeable echoes on the lead guitar line. Sid Arthur really start to make a noticeable departure from their past work on the song No Peace, which introduces all these synthetic elements that carry on throughout the rest of the record. The song holds close to a more traditional, straightforward pop structure, never veering off into these stagnant riffs and psychedelic jam outs that the last albums would have. And Liam's vocals on that verse are money. The way he flips into that soft head voice on the higher notes, instead of just blasting it out as most people would, this guy's got technique. I think there's no doubt this guy's got one of the strongest voices in rock music today. Part of it's due to his inflection and accent a little bit, but it's mostly due to his chops and just that divine tone. No Peace is one where the catchiness almost makes up for the simplicity of it and makes it okay. You know, it's super repetitive, but the performances are so top-notch. The production choices are so good throughout, like that nimble little string part before the last chorus. Unfortunately, at this point in the album, a trend starts where these engaging pop songs almost hit their stride too early and then end up just kind of petering out after the second chorus, just due to a lack of ideas. And this totally isn't mitigated at all by the uninspiring bridge sections on Sun Rays or the title track Apricity. I really like the rhythmic stutters on these progressions, but they just take the good stuff and repeat it again until it kind of loses all momentum, and then they take the dynamic and bring it down on the same progression, and then it's back into a chorus. There's just little swell or surprise. The song Into Eternity feels especially predictable and flat. Kind of reminds me of some of the dry and sluggish worship The song Into Eternity feels especially predictable and flat. Kind of reminds me of some of the sluggish and dry worship music I've experienced in church. And that's no slight on worship music, because I believe worship music can be great, but there is a lot of non-emotional stuff out there, and it kind of reminds me of that. But it doesn't even have all the cliche crescendos associated with adult contemporary music. Just this really persistent siren-like synth throughout the entire thing. It's going for intensity, but it's just irritating. Most of the major dynamic changes on this album aren't done compositionally. They're just sort of surface level bells and whistles production stuff. I mean, where are all the unexpected jazz chords? Take the song Evolution, for example. Without those Radiohead glitches, there's very little substance there. It's similar to the song Seraphim, which jumps into this really beautiful fingerpick guitar bridge, but then they just can't transition naturally back into the chorus. They just add some lackluster vocal O's and rely on this big synthetic wave of rainfall to sort of build tension again. There really isn't one song with an interesting bridge section on this entire album. What you get in the first minute of the song is really all you can expect. I'm reluctant to rip too hard on Apricity just because I really believe in these guys. I think they're an extremely talented band that's sort of right on the cusp of more widespread popularity, which they deserve. And I don't want to discourage anyone from checking them out, because if I was coming in for the first time on this album without hearing anything prior, I'd definitely be impressed. And let me just justify my opinion with this. I just listened through the entire Steely Dan discography, so there's nothing to compare. And I'm totally fine with them opting for this more modern Tame Impala psych pop sound, over the sprawling prog of some of their Canterbury contemporaries like Caravan. It's just this kind of songwriting and song structure and construction component I feel I haven't quite reached on this album. I'm pretty indifferent to it overall. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I'm going to be putting out a couple different types of videos this week, so look out for those. They're going to be based on the What I'm Listening To videos I've already done, where I kind of cover a broad range of albums and genres, but I think this format is going to be better. I'm pretty excited about it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.